Oh, that's loud. All right. So, I am all prepared, set up. I've got everything I need sterilized. I've sterilized my station, washed my hands to the elbow. Nobody is here in the Zoom meeting, so I figured I'd probably just record this and show people later. If I guess anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. I love talking about this kind of stuff. I love answering questions. I'm going to be cloning some oyster mushrooms that I got from my neighbor's tree today with permission. The way I'm going to be doing this is I'm going to be doing a tissue biopsy. I'm going to put that tissue on some agar plates. And also I'm going to put some in bags of rice. Now, the way that, well, there's a lot of ways to cultivate mushrooms in your home, but yeah, I'm using a lot of inexpensive, low-tech methods of doing this. And one of those methods is using brown rice as your spawn grain. Now, oysters generally prefer wood, but I'm also going to later introduce a bulk substrate called cocoa coir. I've mixed it with vermiculite. I am currently pasteurizing it by adding a gallon of boiled distilled water. That's got to sit for at least 6 hours, so I'm just going to let it sit overnight. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to use it to make some bags of chestnut mushrooms and also lion's mane. Yeah, but for now, I'm just trying to get the mycelium growing in my bags of rice. The reason I'm using Uncle Ben's rice is well, typically you would sterilize your own spawn grain with a pressure cooker at 15 psi, but I don't have a pressure cooker, and they're a little bit expensive. So I plan to get one eventually. For now I'm doing low tech methods. The nice thing about Uncle Ben's brown rice is it is sterilized, and it just makes a nice little container for growing your mycelium. Yeah, so all right, let's get it started, I guess. Gonna do a little bit more sterilizing. Gonna sterilize a few things as I go in between uses. Gonna sterilize my hands. Ah, that stings. So I'm using 70% isopropyl alcohol. I don't really like using gloves, simply because, well, I feel like I have more trouble doing anything with gloves on. So it's for now it's just gonna be just my hands. Many people, when they do this, they use what's called a still air box, which is basically just a big plastic tote that you can see through. You cut 2 holes through for your arms. Do all your work in there so that no little particles or anything can fall onto what you're working on. Very important that everything that you do is sterile. It's also why I'm wearing a mask, so I don't, spit anything onto anything that I'm working on. Any bacteria or any kind of contaminants that gets on your rice or anything like that, it'll compete with your mycelium for the nutrients. Sometimes it wins, sometimes the mycelium wins, but just in general, it's bad. So you want everything to be sterile. All right. Okay. Hope the music isn't too loud. It's kind of loud. Yeah. Guess I won't really know if no real feedback. So hopefully nothing is. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing and it's clear. But yeah. So first things first. I think. Yeah. Well, I actually collected 2 oyster mushrooms from two separate trees from separate neighbors. I found a few different wild mushrooms growing throughout the neighborhood while out on a walk, and this is a nice area for things like that, for that sort of nature. So you never know what you're gonna find. All right. First thing is to get our sample out. All right, here's our first one. It's kind of neat. It's got some spores that dropped on top of it. Now, I don't know exactly what type of oyster mushroom this is. There are many varieties. It can be really difficult to tell. These ones are kind of old, dried. cracked and withered. You can see some spores dropped on it from some of the ones that were above it. The gills are very dried out and wrinkly. I would typically like to try to get a spore print, but unfortunately, I think this mushroom's just kind of done dropping its spores. So I'll have to wait until some of the ones I grow are around to get some spores from them. But in the meantime, I just want the tissue. So I'm gonna use my knife. Well, I'm gonna rip open the mushroom, use my knife to pull out some tissue samples here and there. And from there, I will put them directly into my bags of rice or on my agar plates. Now the agar is just it's a nutrient-rich medium that's been sterilized that you can grow stuff on. It's great for the mycelium to eat and grow on. Nice little flat surface you can see. Oh, that was weird. Okay, good. Makes sense. Okay. Maybe it would be better to get a closer view of this. Okay. I want some flesh from the larger one. Now, it should all generally be have the same genetics, but just in case, I want to make sure I get some good ones. Oh yeah, I forgot. So I talked about what a still air box is, but I didn't mention what mine is. It is it's essentially a makeshift flow hood. It blows clean air through a filter, so that constant airflow keeps any particles from falling. They just blow away instead. So that's what's going on here. All right. So I'm just gonna get a little bit of tissue. It does not take much to grow from. This is quite a tough sample, but there we go. We've got a little piece. Oh, please don't fall. Okay, I'm gonna keep that right there for a second. Gonna open up our bag. We gonna put it right in this hole here. No, please don't fall. Please. Okay. All right. There's our first one. We're going to close this up with paper tape. What this is, it is porous tape, micropore tape, as it's called. It allows air to pass through because your mycelium does breathe oxygen. So we want it to still be able to breathe, but we don't want any particles or contaminants to get in while it colonizes our spawn grain. So we're just going to close that up. And then we're going to give that probably, I'd say maybe 2 weeks to fully colonize that bag of rice. The nice thing about these bags is they do have this little window at the bottom that you can see the rice through. So you can generally tell how far along your bags are. So that's going to be very important. So that one's done. Just going to set that aside and keep on going. All right. Guess I could probably cut open my bag before I get the sample. Oftentimes, I would like to do this with a syringe, and then maybe try to make a liquid culture if I could. It's just mycelium suspended in a nutrient-rich sterile medium. A lot of people make their own using a pressure cooker, But there's this neat little trick, very similar to what I'm doing with the bag of Uncle Ben's rice. You can actually use a bag of Capri Sun to make a liquid culture. The only problem is I need a sterile needle, and the pharmacy would not give me it. I can buy some online, but I was not really that prepared. I found these. I found these mushrooms today, collected them today. Just everything was very spur of the moment, much like this video. Okay, we don't want to tape our bag shut because, like I said, that mycelium does need to breathe, and if we don't give it enough oxygen, it's going to struggle. You do want to not starve it of oxygen completely, but kind of deprive it, as mycelium will grow a bit faster because it's when it's oxygen deprived, because it's trying to find some air. So yeah, that's a neat little trick to try to get it to grow quicker. Generally, you want to sterilize your equipment in between everything you do. A lot of people prefer flame sterilization, but I just bought this knife and I don't want to put a flame to it. So this is what we'll be doing. Now I'm going to be doing 3 bags per mushroom sample, and then 2 agar plates. So this is the last bag that I'm going to do from this sample, and then I'm going to get the other one. So we're going for that nice fleshy part right above the gills. The funny thing about oysters is they're almost entirely capped, no stem. It's just the way they grow. I really shouldn't touch it with my fingers because it's more likely to contaminate, but sometimes it's just a little unavoidable. But that is why I wash and sterilize my hands. The really neat thing about mushrooms and mycelium is it really only takes just a teeny tiny amount to grow more mycelium from. And you can do this with just about any mushroom. You could go to the store, get some portobellos. I don't know what portobellos like to eat. I don't know if brown rice would work for that or not. But the method itself should work, you know. Sorry, I'm getting some messages. So we're done with this sample for now. I do want to keep it. It's very dried out. I don't know if I could collect any spores. I really want I want to collect as many spore prints as I can. I think it's a lot of fun and just neat to collect. I got a spore print from some Pholiota adiposa, some chestnut mushrooms I found in the park. And I'm trying to collect as many as I can. Yeah. Okay, let's set this one aside. This one's a little bit smaller. It wasn't particularly large, but it is a neat little sample. Yeah, I think they're the same type of oysters. It would make sense, you know, it was in the same neighborhood. I wouldn't be surprised if the spores, you know, managed are managing to hop from one tree to another. It's time for a new. And I guess I should get a little more on my hands. I'm running low on alcohol here. Hope I have another bottle somewhere. I should. If not, it's not very expensive. Cuts on my hands. Yeah. So the nice thing about these methods that I'm using, oh, poop, I forgot to do the agar plates. Okay, so the nice thing about these methods that I'm using is it's all very low cost. It's makes the hobby very accessible to beginners. You don't need an expensive pressure cooker to get started. Just a couple of samples, some bags of rice, and you know the desire. So, okay. So I'm gonna do 2 agar plates, and this is gonna work pretty similarly to the bags of rice. I'm just gonna take a little tissue sample, place it on the agar, and give it some time to colonize. And when it's done, I can then take sections of the agar, the best looking sections of growth, and either add that to a bag of rice. I can do a few agar transfers if there's like multiple sets of genetics, and I'm trying to isolate one of those sets. So I think it's mostly good for isolating genetics. If that's something you've got going on. Because when mushrooms grow, they mushrooms drop millions and millions of spores. And so you can often have many, many different sets of genetics growing all right next to each other. Sometimes you even have like multiple sets of genetics in a singular mushroom. So it's kind of an interesting thing. So it takes some work to get that down to a monoculture, but when you do, it grows more effectively. You know exactly what you're working with. You don't get a bunch of different crazy mushrooms, or you know, different sets of genetics, different rates of growth. Everything grows very uniformly. They don't when you have say the same species of mushroom, they can compete for resources such as nutrients, but within the same species, they generally don't compete as much. And then, you know, if you have a monoculture, then it doesn't really have to compete at all. They can work together. The mycelium can send nutrients through the network, help out different parts, and it will often. But yeah, it's just nice to only be working with one set of genetics. So now I've got my little tissue sample. I'm going to want to embed this in the agar, and then basically have the agar growing upside down. Now, I want to expose this to the air for as short a time as possible, but I still want to, you know, do exactly what I need to do. So I'm gonna set this on there, and I'm going to embed it slightly so it doesn't fall, hopefully. Really hope that stays in place, because if that falls, it's going to be gonna kind of waste the agar plate. Okay. Hey, Karina. Looks like you just got here. You can't hear me? Dang it all. Oh no. I've been talking for quite a while. I hope. Are you sure you can't hear me? It looks like. My computer says that it can hear me fine. So I don't know. Where's the chat? Hello?
Hello?
Oh, hey there.
Hi. I'm
Hey,
just, yeah.
so I started already. Nobody was here and I had everything sterilized and ready to go. I I am recording this, so if you want, you can go back and watch it. I have been narrating a lot of what I'm doing, trying to explain as I go. Currently, yeah, so currently I am
Isaiah.
taking tissue. Yes, hello.
Oh, hi. I was just telling Wayne that I'm watching you, Isaiah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So what I've been doing is I've been taking some tissue samples from the mushroom. I've put some in some bags of Uncle Ben's rice because that's something that mushrooms like to eat. And I'm also using some agar plates uh, for, well, yeah, to kind of grow them on.
Oh,
The
wow.
really cool, yeah, the really cool thing about mushrooms and mycelium is how much mycelium you can grow off of just a tiny little piece of tissue. So I'm taking these very small samples and adding them to wherever I want to grow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it really doesn't take much, which is a really cool thing. I'm using a lot of low tech methods for cloning, very inexpensive, because the alternative would be needing a pressure cooker, which I don't have, and they're kind of expensive.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so agar plates are fairly cheap to get. I've tried to make my own, but it just didn't work without a pressure cooker.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, all right, so I'm going to put that tissue on the agar. I'm going to embed it in the agar so it doesn't move around. And oh, this is making a mess. Oh dear.
Oh, okay.
Well, hopefully that stays. Come on. Oh, no. Okay. Hopefully that stays. Now, generally you store agar plates upside down. There is potential for I guess stuff to fall onto the agar. Everything that I'm doing, I'm trying to keep very sterile because if something were to like a little bit of bacteria or contaminants can fall onto the onto what I'm working with, it will compete with the mushrooms for resources for nutrients. Yeah, so here's my setup. I've got this is my little makeshift flow hood. What it does is it blows filtered air, so anything falling would just be blown away instead of falling on what I'm working on. A lot of people like to use a still air box, which is just like a big plastic tote with two holes cut in for your arms to work in, so nothing can fall on what you're working on. I'm wearing a mask so I don't spit or anything like that onto what I'm working on as I'm talking, because if you like, it really doesn't take much contaminants to ruin your grow. Just a little bit, and it's done for.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So I'm done with this sample. I inoculated 3 bags of rice and 2 agar plates with this one. Uh, I have another sample that I got here from another neighbor's tree, and I want to try to clone this one as well. So
Have you done this before?
oh yeah, definitely. It's so I I've played around with cloning some stuff before. I grew some pink oysters straight from a bag of Uncle Ben's rice. They turned out kind of small, not that great for a couple reasons. Mostly because I couldn't keep them moist enough while I was at work, so they just kind of dried out and didn't grow that well. I am planning on buying a grow tent so that I can better control the humidity of the area. But that's just a little ways off. I am currently pasteurizing some bulk substrate, which is I've mixed cocoa core, which is ground up coconut husks and vermiculite, and I'm added some boiling water. So I'm gonna let that sit for at least 6 hours, and then I'm going to mix it with some fully colonized rice tomorrow morning and put it in a big bag to grow in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I can show you a fully colonized bag of rice and what that looks like. Um, okay, so here's some lion's mane that I've been growing in a bag of rice. You can see the mycelium is fully colonized the bag. It's eating the rice. The only place where it's not really, you see little spots where the rice is pressed up against the bag. But that bag is pretty well fully colonized. So I'm going to just cut it open, break up the mycelium, and mix it with the cocoa core.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I'm using I don't know if I already mentioned this. I'm just using Uncle Ben's rice because it's a very inexpensive and accessible way to work on this. Otherwise, I would need to sterilize my own grains, and that's just a headache and a half.
Oh, yeah.
So get started on this other sample. We can zoom up again or get close again. Okay. So mycelium breathes oxygen the same way we do. So I do need to make a big enough hole for the mycelium to breathe through. To keep any contaminants from getting in there, I'm going to cover up the hole with micropore tape. It essentially blocks any contaminants from getting in there, but allows oxygen to get through. So it's very nice for this sort of thing.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Yeah, so take a little tissue sample here. It really doesn't take much, but it doesn't hurt to have more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Okay, so for our tissue sample, put it in the bag. And then cover this up. Oh yeah, no problem, Bob. Okay. I'm recording a video for my family. I'm cloning some oysters I got from a neighbor's tree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, here we can.
Can you pause it?
I'm just recording, so you can go. You're fine. You're fine.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. Yeah, my roommate just got home.
Oh, okay.
I'm a little bit worried about this one. I did not make that, or I did not leave the hole very open. There we go. I don't want the hole too close because then the mycelium can't breathe. All right, so I'm gonna set this one over away from the others, keep the two samples separate, or our two bags separate. It's not, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. Okay, so, yeah, that's really tough. Just want some of this nice fleshy tissue above the gills. Now, I would like to get a spore print of this, but these are rather dried out, and I think they're done dropping spores. So I'll just have to wait till I start growing some, then I'll be able to get a spore print.
Oh.
So it'll probably take about 2 weeks for the mycelium to fully colonize these bags of rice. At which point I'll rip them open, break up the mycelium, and mix it with some cocoa core, like I'm about to do tomorrow. I'll probably record that as well whenever I do that. I don't know. I I don't plan a lot of things. I kind of just do them.
Well, I hope it works out.
Yeah, thanks. I have done this a couple times before and it's worked out. So I'm not terribly worried about it, but yeah.
Oh.
Let's see. All right, that works. So I'm ripping the mushrooms rather than cutting straight through them, so that if there's any contaminants on the outside of the mushroom, I'm not pressing them into the mushroom and contaminating the inside. It's also why I'm not pulling any tissue samples directly from the outside. So, yeah. Oh, shoot, I didn't cut that one. Now, generally, you probably want to avoid touching your samples, but I have sterilized my hands and it'll probably be fine. Yeah. Okay, now all my bags are done, which is great. Having that out of the way. I've only got 2 more agar plates to do, and then I'm totally done.
Oh, wow.
Please don't fall. Oops. Yeah. That looks like a good spot. Now I was narrating things a little bit earlier. I don't know if I've told you already, but you can do this with like any type of mushroom. It really only takes a small amount of tissue to then grow more mycelium. You could even like go to the store, pick up some portobello mushrooms and clone them by doing exactly what I'm doing. I don't know if portobellos like to eat brown rice or not. I don't know what kind of spawn to use for them, but yeah, it's very easy to make more and more mycelium.
Oh, wow.
I see other people do agar work online. There's a nice little mushroom community. Some people like to cut out pieces of mushroom into little heart shapes. I have no idea how they cut it that well, but looks pretty cool to see the little heart shape with the mycelium growing from it.
Interesting.
Right. Yeah, so all those are done. The only thing that's really left to do is put parafilm on my my agar plates and label everything. So parafilm is just this nice little bit of plastic, very similar to the micropore tape. It is also going to prevent the any contaminants from getting into the plates from the sides. and also it's going to keep it from drying out while that mycelium colonizes.
Oh, wow.
And the parafilm they sent me is too small for these plates. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right, guess I'll have to use two first. Get this out of the way.
So this type of mushroom is special?
So this is an oyster mushroom. It is edible. It's considered gourmet. It is very commonly cultivated by enthusiasts and just people who like to grow their own food. But I was lucky enough to find some growing on a neighbor's tree, which for me, that's very exciting. I enjoy the idea of foraging and cultivating, you know, just from the wild as opposed to buying liquid cultures online. That is how I got my chestnut and my lion's mane, is through buying a liquid culture online. Yeah, I just like the idea of, you know, finding it in the wild.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. There are many different types of oyster mushrooms. There's like pink, golden, black, king, blue. Yeah, all sorts. So I'm not 100% what. In fact, I'm not terribly sure what kind of oyster mushrooms these are, but they are they're pretty clearly oysters though. So I'm confident in that.
Oh, wow.
Okay, those are done. Yeah, so this is just kind of, I don't know, my pandemic hobby, just something fun to do. Become very interested in it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. When Nephi and I went on that mushroom foraging adventure, we actually did find some oyster mushrooms, really big. I think they were king oysters, but I don't know. I didn't really know how to clone mushrooms back then, and if I did, I would have taken a sample, but I just didn't know enough back then. And I would have eaten them, but I cut one and saw that there were some worms already eating it. So I was like, I'll just leave it for nature.
Oh, wow. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. I I hope that this goes very well. You know, I have five attempts at cloning per mushroom. So, you know, if hopefully at least one of these works out and I'll be able to grow some. What I hope to do is, you know, grow some, make some kind of dish out of them, such as mushroom risotto, and share it with the neighbors that I got the mushrooms from. You know, a nice little neighborly thank you for helping me do this. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to grow mushrooms, to clone them, all these different things, and you know, this has got to be my absolutely favorite way to do it. It's so low cost, low tech, so little effort, so very accessible for people who are just getting into the hobby. So I've had a lot of fun using bags of Uncle Ben's rice.
Wow. I never would have known.
Yeah, right. It's such a weird, funny thing.
Yeah.
All right, label them. What's today? The 15th? Yeah. Oh, I think that one fell. Yep. Oh. So let's after your bags are colonized a certain amount, you can do what's called a break and shake. It's where you use your hands to break up the mycelium into individual pieces. You shake the bag up and redistribute the mycelium so it's all over the bag, and then it'll just kind of grow explosively from that point. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just labeling these oyster 1 or oyster 2 because, like I said, I don't really know what the what particular type of oysters these are, but
Wow.
but yeah, that just about does it. I'll post the video to the group chat for anyone who missed it, or if you want to see the beginning of things. But yeah, thanks for coming in, hanging out, checking it out. I love talking about this. I love answering questions. It's a lot of fun.
It'll be exciting to see the progress.
Yeah. Oh, I guess, yeah, I should post some updates in the future about this.
Or yeah, that would be cool.
All right. And I'm now done. Nothing left to do but just kind of clean everything up. I'm going to put everything in the closet where it generally stays about 72 degrees, which is an ideal temperature for these types of mushrooms to colonize. If you put them somewhere where it's too cold, they just won't grow. If you make it too warm, they still can grow. They're just not as effectively. But bacteria typically grows a little bit better at higher temperature ranges. So you kind of have like a sweet spot you want to keep them in. That I would say 65 to 75 degrees is ideal.
Oh, wow. Well, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So exciting. I didn't know you could do that. I've
Yeah.
never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a neat little project, and like I said, it's very accessible. You could just go to your grocery store, pick up some bags of Uncle Ben's rice. Probably the hardest thing to get would be the micropore tape. It does need to be a specific type. Although I think you can actually pick up a few rolls at your grocery store as well over in the pharmacy section. So it's if you ever feel like doing it, it's a neat, fun little project.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So, but like I said, I think that does about do it for this video. Everything's done. So, yeah, thanks for stopping by.
All right. Thanks for inviting us. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess before I go, did you have any kind of questions or anything?
How do you spell micropore tape? I don't know. How do you find that? What is it?
So it's micro.
It's
micro and pore, P-O-R-E, M-C-R-O-P-O-R-E. Here, I can put it in the chat. I use 3M micropore tape. So I think it's called paper tape as well.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, all right. Much love. I'll see you later.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.